Well, hi there. This is another video from me. This is rather a little bit about some issues that I have, problems, and I want to tell you about them. So, it's about electronics. As you can see, I've tried to do stuff with the Superhead again, and as you can see there, I have two coils out of my coils box, where you can see I have quite some filter coils. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to build the FM radio with a ratio detector, and I'm using a 5.5 MHz ceramic filter there because I've tested these coils with an oscillator circuit and they're oscillating around about 4 to 6 or 7 MHz, so I'm quite in that range. And then I did some research on ratio detector circuits, and well, I found some circuits. But the problem with those was that they were using a coil that had a third coil going off of the core, and I just have two coils. And so I threw together something, as you can see here with this blue diode. I tried to make a circuit because I know the ratio detector somehow phase shifts something. I wanted to make like, I put the diodes in the opposite direction, and I wanted one coil to shift the phase like down and the other coil to shift the phase like up, and then it should somehow work. Well, I kind of got it working. I was receiving stations, as said before, but even the strong station was just with very distorted audio and a bad audio quality. Then I tried at least 3 hours to get some other demodulation things working, but everything I got was, when I added 4 transistors, a kind of self-oscillating IF amp. And as you can imagine, I'm not really happy about that because it's Sunday, and there's a problem that I have. It's like a girl that I knew once, I was talking to her quite some time, and she said I'm having problems with my inner myself, over myself. So it's like as if there were two persons in you, and one person is forcing you to do stuff. For example, yesterday night, I watched a movie on TV, and I went to bed like 1:30 at night. Guess when I stood up? 7:45 in the morning. I woke up in the bed, I was tired, and I had to stand up and said, okay, it's Sunday, I do have spare time today. I do need to make a video about electronics. And the problem that I have is, if I don't make this video, if I instead try to sleep, I can't sleep. And if I just go to my computer and play computer games, there's always this like, it's begging in my head. It's like, okay, now it's 10 o'clock. If I now start working on a simple circuit, I do have right about 4 or 5 hours left to make a good video about this stuff. Okay, come on, now let's do this. And I'm not really in the game. My head is like, do this electronics, make this electronic project, make another video for YouTube, show the people what you can build, show the people that you aren't a loser. I'm sorry for that. As I said, I went through some serious bullying in the apprenticeship, and I'm not really over that. So, this video is also something you might not like. It's a little bit about my opinion about electronics, why I built this stuff. Well, I grew up in the 90s. Analog TV was still popular. You went to the electronics store and you could buy CRT televisions. And even on the supply store, they had these small, like, what was it, 5.5 inch or so, black and white CRT televisions for like $50. And yeah, then I kind of got into this electronics stuff. But what happened? Time changed, future changed. The job of radio and TV repair, I mean the vintage one, is kind of dying out. I see many sets sold on eBay, complete test equipment, fancy pattern generator, high-end electronics for analog, radio and TV, because people are closing their shops. No one repairs these TVs. I mean, seriously repairs them for use them. Because you can get a 10 times better TV for a small amount of the money you paid for the CRT TV, just for example. And so everything changed. And so why do I build this stuff? Well, I'm good at two things: playing video games or computer games and electronics. I've spent like 15 years of practical experience with this stuff. And so I built this stuff. But why do you build it? I mean, this is a kit of, as I said, one principle is that I want to have something electronic in the video. And this is a kit that can be bought in Germany. It's similar like this. Francis, just a moment. Francis radio kit. This one's quite expensive though, and this one's quite cheap. It's a regenerative shortwave receiver, and of course in my case, as usual, the scale doesn't fit because there is a tiny coil inside that you have to align. This coil. you have to align it to get the proper frequency. So this matches the frequency of the coil. So for example, I've tuned in 9000 here, but it's pretty much rather 6000. I have already pre-tuned a station, so you will see a station running, or hear your station. And here is the circuit. As you can see, it uses the LM386 audio amp and a custom-made coil and 2 transistors. As I said, this is a regenerative receiver. Here's the regeneration control, here's the volume, and it works quite good. If you have a good signal, a good station, you get a really loud and really a clear sound out of this device. Really nice work there. Also, it has a proper speaker, because the other device suffers from this green cheap speaker, and here you can see it has a proper speaker, so nothing wrong with that. But anyway, why do these people build this stuff? I mean, this radio here, it's just like a cheap radio from eBay. It costs like $5. If you have a look at it, or I want to show it later because I want to show you something else. Anyway, this radio can receive the FM radio band, it has medium wave, and it has a couple of shortwave bands. Of course, the reception of the radio is poor. On FM I can pick up the strong stations, the local stations, but there is not really a good separation from the stations. On AM I can receive a local station that is still broadcasting. I think it's broadcasting till next Wednesday, then they shut it down. But anyway, I can receive the station with quite some static for comparison with another radio, which is a little bit better. I can receive it very clear, but yes, I can receive it. Also on shortwave it can receive many stations, but it's very poor reception quality. But hey, $5 for a radio that covers FM and AM bands. If you do some work on it, I'm sure, I haven't done that, but I'm sure if you do some realigning of this radio, tuning cap realigned, maybe realign the filter coils a little bit, it will get a really, at least acceptable radio for $5. And this kit here costs like, what's called, $15 to $20. So where's the point in building this? People build the stuff because of building it. I mean, I'm reading some antiquary radio forums, and I'm also registered in at least one of these forums, and it's kind of funny if I get to there's on the forum there's a message of people having birthday, and people having like their 89th or 70th birthday, and someone else wrote, I was born in 1940, and so why do people do this stuff? Well, because it's of remember stuff. Oh, when I was a child. Then I went to the electronics store and bought a transistor. It was something special to buy a transistor back in time. And I'm kind of equal to that. I have some stuff. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, and I have bought some like wireless headphones, radios, and stuff that I had in the 90s because it gives me good memories, good feedback. But the problem is with this electronic stuff, the new generation, if you want to call it like that, of electricians or electronics is like the Arduino persons. And I don't have a problem with these. I mean, they are the future. You don't need to know how the IF amp of a radio works, because you can buy a radio for $5. You also don't need to know what this local oscillator is or what an AB audio amplifier is, because you can buy a finished amplifier for a few bucks. A good amplifier. And so these Arduino guys, this is no offense, no, I can build a 5-volt regulated supply with a 7805 regulator, which one I randomly have, of course, here this is a 7805. They can build the 5-volt supply for the Arduino, and everything else I write on my PC as code, because I don't need to know this stuff. And this is what I want to show you now. Technology evolved. If we go a little bit further, you may see this little chip here. What is this? It's a FM radio. This is a complete FM radio. You only need to connect the battery, the headphone, and you need to connect some buttons where you can select a station and control the volume. See what's there? One SMD part, and I think this is a capacitor. So, I mean, this is a complete FM radio, which is like 1,000 times more complex than this toy stuff here. So this is what I want to say. It's hard with electronics. I don't want to scare beginners off electronics because it's still an interesting hobby. I mean, the basic idea, if you have one receiver and you have one transmitter and you can receive and transmit stuff, data signals, music, voice, whatever, wirelessly is like magic. It's fascinating, but the problem is it's getting more and more hard to get people into that stuff. They see no point in it. Medium wave stations are shutting down. Shortwave stations have been shut down a while ago. I mean, there are new projects coming up. But the main stations, I mean the public stations, So amateur radio guys in Germany, especially at the DRC radio, are complaining, let's say, oh, keep the medium wave transmitter. In case of emergency, you will need those to have an emergency broadcast system. Okay? So what's the point? I mean, if there would be an emergency in Germany, which is quite rare. I mean, there was some water problem back in 2002 or something, but mostly there aren't really that much intense issues that you need to have an emergency broadcast station. Anyway, if they had one, who does have these radios? I mean, the people who have them, who knows what is medium wave and why search a medium wave signal? So I think it's pointless, but I can understand them. I mean, you should at least keep one transmitter, make it into a museum, and like the SAQ transmitter, which is transmitting 1 or 2 times a year on 17 kilohertz or so, you could keep one medium wave transmitter and make like one broadcast once a year for the vintage radios and just for the history. But they don't keep it. So it's a little bit annoying that I sit there 3 hours on my Sunday without getting any result, without getting any success on this ratio detector. I mean, I could turn the coils, and if I turned them all the way backwards, the signal got stronger, but I was not really able to align any phase shift, and also I was making a little bit different design than the actual ratio detector design is. It's just, I don't know. I'm doing this stuff for you because I know you appreciate it, and I love it if you appreciate it, because I really need this stuff. I mean, it's like my brother is having a job as he repairs cars, and so he's kind of useful if you want to call it like that. But I mean, how often does a car get bad in the family, or change the tires? And how often does a radio go bad? So I have to repair a radio. I just wanted to make a video, because if I keep it like that, I have pretty much worked 3 hours on this stuff and pretty much received or archived nothing. It doesn't work. I tried to make a simple demodulator that is an AM radio, and then I tried to demodulate FM with it and show you that it does work on strong station, but on weak station it doesn't work. But even this didn't work. As soon as I put in 4 transistors, all I get is shh, like it's self-oscillating, and I can't get it to stop. So, to have something technical in the video, because that's wherefore I'm doing this stuff, here is the regenerative radio. I've already tuned in a station. And then I'll turn it on. It runs with a 9-volt battery. And this is the feedback. I'll turn up the feedback. Okay, there we go. Seems like they just shut off the station that I wanted to show you. Oh, there is something. As you can hear, too much feedback. Yep. They just shut off the station. So before I had a station where was music and speech. It was quite strong and quite loud, but yep, now they just seem to have shut it down. Is there something else? No. Nothing else. I tried to connect the antenna somewhere else. So these are different antenna connections. So if you have a short antenna, you connect it there. If you have a long antenna, you connect it there. But it's all described in the manual. But no, sorry. Try this one. But there is... It's just like the demonstration effect. There is one station coming in very weak here. But already I'm on maximum volume. Here you can hear it. It's below a... There you can hear it very silent. Oh, that's a German station, and it's about church. There are some religious broadcasts. You could very silent hear it, but yeah, as I said, there was a strong station before, and meanwhile I was making the video. Seems like they shut off the transmitter, which is quite useful. For example, the DRC radio transmitter runs for 1 hour and then it shuts down. You can rent transmitter time meanwhile. $57, 1 hour, and you can transmit with 100 kilowatts. Everything legal. The only thing you have to worry about is the music you want to broadcast, because it's also copyright issues. So just a video to make a video. Best regards, Stefan.